Hello, my name is Aaron, this is Gear, and I'm sitting here in my tiny little office and I was thinking to myself, does room size matter? You know, you can only see this much of me because if I make it full frame, you'll see how tiny this room is and how gross it is, how really messy it is. This is my office where I work, but it also happens to be right now where my speakers are and where all my stuff is because I'm in the middle of transition. I gotta build a new room. It's in the process. I'm converting one bay of the garage into a dedicated space. So I'm so excited about it. But in the meantime, I have to deal with reality, which means I'm in this tiny room. Now, if you're also in a tiny room, you may be wondering, like I was, does room size matter? Number one, the first thing that you'll notice is that in a room, I know, wait for it, you have less room when it's small. Yeah, I know. And when you have a small room and the room is smaller, you have less places to place the speakers. Now, the other thing about a small room is that there usually aren't a lot of people walking through that small room. So unlike a living room or some other kind of multi-purpose room, you don't have a lot of people coming in and out of there and causing traffic and then also requiring you to shove the speakers right up against the wall or on bookshelves or whatever the case is. You're not as maybe limited in a small room. And if the room works out, you can sit your chair where you would like. So there's some possible advantages here in the general room setup. 2, bass management. Now you may not be familiar with the way that sound works, which is when you have high frequencies and mid frequencies, they kind of go directly at you. They are very what you call directional. The higher frequency, typically the more directional, the smaller the waves. The lower in frequency you go, the bigger the sound waves are. Now, when the sound waves in an omnidirectional speaker like a subwoofer starts making bass, what happens is that bass goes everywhere. It bounces off of walls, boundaries, all those kinds of things. So what happens is that you have room modes. You get peaks and nulls. So what happens is the bass hits the wall, then comes back, and a new bass wave comes back and hits it. You have a spike in one section. What does that practically mean? It means that somebody sitting next to you could hear a ton of bass at 60 hertz. You sitting right here, you hear no bass at 60 hertz. And turn it up, and then I hear it maybe a little bit, and it's being blown out. All I can hear is 60 hertz. So bass management is an important aspect, and the reality is that it's going to be effective in any size room that you have. If you're in a concert hall, maybe you don't have to worry about that. But for most homes, most rooms, you're going to have to deal with bass management anyways. And the best way to do that is with a DSP or a mini DSP or something like that to equalize the sound. Now, moving on to part 3. So in this room, we have a little bit of an echo, right? The idea is that sound, high frequency sound, like we talked about, is very directional. It hits something and it bounces off. Now, because those waves are very small, you can use like fabric or foam, some foam behind my head. That will absorb some of the echo, which is great because you don't want a ton of echo. The other side of that is you don't want it completely dead. You don't want to walk in and there's no high frequency and only mid-range, because then you're going to miss all the detail that would be there. Echo means that there's a lot of frequency coming around, and that can cause what's called distortion or sound like distortion when you're actually listening to music. Now, when you have things up on the wall, that absorbs that sound, so you don't have the echo. But you don't want it completely covering the walls. You want to use what's also called diffraction, so absorption and diffraction. So the foam and blankets and other things, that'll absorb it, or just absorption panels. Or you have diffusion or diffraction panels where they break up the sound so it doesn't sound uniform like in a gymnasium. Lots of flat surfaces, lots of echo. Now, in a small room, you literally have less surface to deal with, to treat, because it's a small room. It's smaller than your average room, so it's going to cost you less, and then you're going to spend less time having to deal with that. So those are 3 reasons why maybe having a small room might work in your favor. So my question to you is, what's the ideal room size? What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you enjoyed the content, please feel free to like and subscribe. Thanks so much.